There are so many trading gurus to follow on the internet. Some of them you find add value to your trading. We don't need to really comment about the others, but for the good ones, the ones who have earned your respect, you don't know how to profit from their ideas. Hi, I'm Mike Bellafiore, co-founder of SME Capital, and we're a proprietary trading firm located in Midtown Manhattan. And I'm also the author of the trading classic, One Good Trade, and the playbook. In this video, see how a retail trader uses the tweet from an experienced market veteran to make a powerful trade. Let's get to work on sharing these important trading lessons so you can grow your trading account.
Today, I'm sharing a trade on changing fundamentals, and it's a second day play on a fade on a large move up, and this took place on December 4th, 2020 on snow. And so the trade strategy came up sort of from an interesting tweet that I saw when I was taking a little bit of a break. And I saw Steve Spencer put out a tweet that said that snow's up roughly 60% from day one close. And the day before, I remember trading it a little bit, and it was very strong that day. And it seemed like it was strong this day also. So I realized there could be an opportunity here. So I looked closely at the first day and the second day charts, and I saw that there was a very similar move up, and there's similar price behavior. And also noticed that at 10 a.m. on day one, 10 a.m. Pacific time, but 1 p.m. Market time, that it had a spike to the all-time high, and then it fades back to VWAP. And so that looked like a really interesting opportunity to maybe see if it could do that twice. And so that's what I based my trade off of.
Steve Spencer is my partner, and yes, we have been best friends since we were 5. And yes, I am completely biased, but that does not mean he's still not a great follow on Twitter for active traders.
I couldn't agree more. That was a really good tweet, and that actually gave me a great trade idea. So I'm really thankful that he's tweeting and giving some good ideas that potentially could be put to work. And so for snow, for those that know who are trading it, it has a fairly wide spread. And so with a wide spread, step one was sizing appropriately, accounting for that wide spread, which typically was about $1 or a little bit less than $1 to manage risk. And so step two for me was to identify a stop level that will keep risk in check and not get stopped out too soon. And also identifying potential support areas on the way down to VWAP that might be great profit-taking areas to look at for. Step three was to get short on the pop up after 10 a.m. That could happen in any time in the first 10 minutes, assuming it was similar to day one. I was looking for it to happen in that 10-minute time frame. So as soon as I started seeing that happen, I wanted to get short and prepare my stop, and then watch the price action closely to then manage the trade from there. So then step four is that if the trade is working and it behaves similar to the first day fade, move stop accordingly to the break even. Once it moves down and breaks to significant levels that I'm looking for it to get to, and then keep moving the stop accordingly to guarantee a minimal loss or at least a small gain to manage the trade in my favor. And then step five was to take profit at areas of support or quick flushes on those breakdowns of those support areas that I identified.
I think it's great that you're looking for people on Twitter and making them into a trade that makes sense to you. I'm in two trades right now, actually, that come from the junior guys on the desk. We're long that SPAC that Trey got me into, and we're long this riot that Graham got me into, and then I got stopped out, and then he made me get back into it. Basically called me a wuss for getting out of it. I made that part up. He kind of did call me a wuss. And I got stopped out. We were having a conversation. I said I got stopped out. He's like, nah, I'm not. I'm still giving it another 25 cents. So I got back in. But that's a good thing to do. I mean, obviously there's You got to pick good people to follow on Twitter, and obviously you have to find people who will give you trade ideas that make the most sense to you. One thing that sort of stands out, and I don't
Yes.
know if you just wrote this because you're a diligent guy, that I know you are. You wrote, identify stop level that will keep risk in check and not get stopped out too soon. Do you mean
Yeah.
by, am I overreading that to think you're giving this a wide enough stop to give yourself a chance, and when you don't give yourself a wide enough stop, that can be problematic for you? Or am I just,
No, you're exactly right. I found that if I don't give myself an appropriate size that is done in such a way that my stop is wide enough to allow it to work, then if I get stopped out too soon, that could trigger me to possibly trade on tilt. And so I've learned that I have to size down a little bit, give myself a little bit more of a stop to allow it to work within a reasonable area that makes sense to where it still should be valid. And then that way I can actually, have a trade that potentially could work. And if it works, then that's when I can manage it from there. And then I avoid trading on tilt or possibly trading on tilt for any reason at all. So that is a good way for me to manage that part of the
that's good?
psychology.
Yep, and what goes along with that is sizing down, obviously.
Yeah.
But anything that you can do to actually capture edge is fine. If you have to size down, give yourself a bigger stop. But when you do that, you capture edge, you make money. That's great. Well, then we'll just build our trading strategy from that. And I
Yeah.
think, that's what Graham was trying to say. I wasn't really nice about it, I didn't think. When he was basically calling me Wuss Bella by getting stopped out of that riot trade, and he was still in it. But, and Matt, aka Killer Matt, on the internet, he he's a very solid opening drive trader, and that's important
I got to
for,
learn
for
from him.
that's important for him too. Which is, you're gonna take these opening drives, you got to make sure you give yourself enough stop, maybe size down, but that strategy that makes a difference if you give yourself the right stop
Yeah.
in certain trades. So that's great.
Yeah, and I like the point that you made earlier about um, you know working with other traders to maybe find ideas, then making them their own, and then executing on them. I found I always tend to trade better when I come across an idea that I didn't think of, and then I make that trade my own, and then and getting other ideas that are out there, it just helps provide more opportunities for me to potentially do better at and to do something with. So
There are certain people that are better at certain ideas. I mean, I can already tell just with some of the younger guys who's better with certain ideas. I mean,
yeah,
we know that Trey is like the expert. He should be running his own shop with that BBBY. He's the go-to. He should be the go-to guy on the street with that. We know that AKA Killer Matt is the go-to guy with opening drive plays, and we know Tristan is fade short float guy, and yeah, we'll go through everybody, but those are, and some guys are good on technical breakout trades, so everybody starts to get their expertise. Spencer is really terrific in giving technical levels to trade off of with stocks that are in play that are doing
yeah,
particularly well and particularly not so well. He has an AM meeting at the firm, puts in his game plan before every morning. If you are open minded and watch that AM meeting and look for his levels and the stocks that he picks out, you will notice he's getting you in the best stocks. You'll notice he's identifying the best levels
yeah,
consistently. So, but it's got to make sense for you. If you're not that type of trader, then maybe go find somebody else. But good
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, exactly. So moving on to the trading strategy. So this is what the 5 minute chart over those 2 days looked like, and this is December 4th right here. And so on the first day, you can see it had a really strong move up, and then around 10 a.m. Pacific time or 1 p.m. market time, it has a pop up and then it fades down to VWAP. And so comparing the price action, because when the tweet went out, it was around 10 a.m. Comparing the price action between the 2 days, they look so similar that to me this looked like a potential opportunity. And so recognizing that time change and the fade to VWAP on day one, that's how I plan my trade for day two.
If you want to learn 3 more real-world setups that our traders use, including the simple setup that we teach all of our new traders, and the setup that turned one of our traders into a 7-figure big money earner, check out the free webinar that we're currently running. Just go ahead and click the link that should be appearing now at the top right-hand corner of your screen. That will open up the free registration page in a new window, so don't worry, you won't lose this video. You can also visit tradingworkshop.com to register for this free intensive workshop. You're going to learn more in a couple of hours from this trading workshop than from years of online education.
And so looking at the big picture, we all know we're in a pretty strong market right now. Most of the indexes are making all-time highs, and so SPY is no exception. That was occurring on that day also. And then in terms of the sector, the cloud computing space has been on a pretty big tear. In Snowflake, they do cloud computing. And, Sky is also hitting all-time highs right now. And so for intraday fundamentals, the news catalyst was present. So the day before, they reported earnings, and it's a brand new stock. It's IPO not too long ago. And so they increased their last quarter revenue, which is good. The improved guidance, and then also we had a tier 1 bank like JPM increase their price target, which are all positives towards the move higher in the stock. And then we also had an improved bottom line outlook altogether, and also we know Snow, people are using it for the cloud computing needs, so everything is coming together for this trade for a positive move up and why it's been doing what it's been doing. And so there's a possibility for it to trend for multiple days, and already trended on day 1 and is trending now on day 2. And so I'm looking to capture a fade on this. And since it's up so much in just basically a day and a half, there's a greater potential for it to revert down to the VWAP a little bit. And so I was looking to capitalize on that. And then in terms of gap, the day of, the gap was a little bit down, minus 1.59%, but it had a huge move the previous day. So that's not too abnormal. And considering that at the time that I was looking at it, it was already up another big sum, a percentage, that wasn't anything to be concerned about, and is actually stacking up in my favor for what I was trying to look for. And then ATR, it's really moving. It was much greater than 0.5, which typically I try to look for as a bare minimum for it to be. And then for elevated RVOL was up around 5, and so that's well above 2. And in general, the higher the RVOL, the better I will perform. And so that's exactly what I'm trying to look for. And then a big key factor here that I noticed was that the float was 36 million compared to the shares outstanding, which is 255 million. And just like it would with a low float stock, when you have a low float relative to the shares outstanding, that is a recipe for large moves to occur, and also in the upward or downward direction, depending on what's going on. And so that was something to keep in mind, and that explains why there could have been a big move, but also it could explain why that with the day 1 fade, that it also moved down pretty heavily. And so all these things are working in my favor.
Hey, Eric, so you are not, I don't mean to make you feel bad. I'm actually just setting the context. I am not doing this to make you feel bad. You're not an S&B desk trader, correct?
No, I'm not.
Okay. And I'm sure that some of the guys are like, why do we have this special guest? So you're a super diligent guy, but if my memory is correct, you did take S&B DNA. Is that correct?
S&B DNA, and then also the winning trader. I'm working through that.
Got it. That's why I'm going to take 100% credit for your brilliance here and your diligence here in setting up this trade. And then we know each other, obviously. We should be transparent about that. You and I have met in person, and know each other a little bit. How do we meet again?
So I presented a playbook trade a year ago on a stock. I can't remember what it was, and I was getting into day trading at that time, and then we met up in Vegas at the Money Show. Can't remember exactly what conference that was, but I think it was that one. So yeah.
All right, great. And still working on your game, still getting better.
Yeah, just improving.
Okay, and this is really diligent. Really good work here. I am, after we hang up, I'm going to scold some of the guys on the desk to be like you. Dude, this is good stuff. All right, moving on. But good work here.
Yeah,
Really
thank
good.
you.
This is a good example of the diligence you want to have before you put in a trade. So,
Yeah. And so from the day before, the day of earnings, it moved up and it bounced off the previous all-time high, which was at 343.21. But then on the second day, it moved up well above the previous all-time high. So this was already a really strong stock, and it IPO'd back in basically mid-September. So there's not a lot of price memory on the stock yet. And then this is just a really quick review of the intraday technical analysis that I described before, just to remind you.
so technical analysis 101 for IPOs is that technical levels. Question for you guys: technical levels work better or worse for IPOs? Killer Matt. Technical levels,
They usually work better.
they work better. And Killer Matt, why do they work better?
Due to the fact that there's not as much price history, the levels on the tape, or levels that just develop on the day, often become the main area of focus for most traders.
Yep, there's less confusion because there's less levels. People can look on a chart, there's a few levels to look at, as opposed to when stocks get more mature, boy, you can confuse yourself and see a lot more levels. Not so with IPOs. So technical levels work better with IPOs. All right, great. What do we got with the tape?
The tape, I got a couple of videos. So I'm going to show my entry at 393.5 and then the breakdown when it was working in my favor below 390. And then where I partialed, where I was watching a retracement to manage my risk and make sure that it doesn't run against me. And then ultimately my final exit. So there's going to be a couple of things to run through on this. So as you can see here, I'm running the playback on Snow, and this is right before the pop, and you're gonna notice a couple things. One, you're gonna notice that the bids are gonna move higher, and the offers are gonna be taken out pretty quickly. So that's already starting to occur. And eventually we're gonna see this pop up above 395, and then from there, at that point, I'm already in at this point. And so I have my entry, and then I have my stop a couple dollars away to guarantee that if I'm wrong, I get out for small loss, but if I'm right, I give myself some room. So we see the offers being taken out, and it's moving up above 395. And then we're going to see some resistance come in at 395.80-ish on the offer, and you're going to see that it doesn't lift, and it holds for a period of time. And at this point, I know that my stop, which is about $1 away from this price of 395.80, is good enough to stick with, for one. And number two, I know that if I'm wrong, I'll be taken out at a decent price. And then the last thing I know is that my entry was good and I have enough room. And if this does work, I should see the bids stepping down over time, and there could be a little bit of a struggle here, but I'm already anticipating this to work in my favor, and if it does, it's going to do similar things like it did the day before, where it has this initial drive up, but then it tops out, changes on the tape, and then it drops down. And so we can see that the offer is dropping down and the bid is dropping down. And so there's a struggle on the tape here. And so I'm already in, and that's what I'm looking for now, is just watching for the price action to drift down lower. So we're gonna go to the next video. And what we're gonna watch now is watching the break on 390. And so at this point, the trade's already working. My stop is originally where it was at. I don't want to move my stop until it breaks below 390 to break even. And so I'm just waiting to see what happens at 390. And what we're going to be seeing is that the 392 offer is going to hold, and then the bid is going to decrement down, and eventually 390 is going to be taken out. It's going to hover around there for a little bit, and then it's just going to get hammered down to 395-ish. And so you already see that 392 has dropped down on the offer. It's now below that. And the bid is hanging out 391, but it potentially could be moving down. And so that's what I'm looking for. I'm waiting for it to drop down. And so we're already starting to see that. And so I'm looking for 390 to be taken out pretty quick. And at that point, I know there's a good chance it's going to move down lower. And then I want to see a quick move on it.
Yeah, you're doing a really good job incorporating the technicals with the tape to make a trade decision. You do want to look at the velocity for how the bids are getting hidden or how the offers are getting taken when you're trading IPOs. And when you get more experience, you'll be able to tell by the velocity at which the bids get hit that it is likely to drop. And you will be able to make a trade decision and get out when you start to get a little bit more experience with that. So very important to be looking at the velocity on the bid.
And so we should see the velocity pick up pretty quickly here, actually. And so right now we're seeing it, and there's going to be a quick move down to 385-ish. And then we're going to see the buyers step in and actually hold 395.20 around there, and then quickly recover. And so you see 385.10 held, and then the bids are holding 385.20-ish, and then we're going to see a quick reversal up. And then at this point, I got the flush down that I wanted, so I know this is already shifting and going towards VWAP. The momentum shifted and moving down now. And so at this point, I moved my stop to break even, which is at 393.5. And now I'm just basically monitoring my trade and managing it as the price action goes along and seeing what happens there. And so here I am looking to take a partial at 385. And so what we're going to see is the price struggling around 385. And what I'm looking for is for held offers, which typically happens around 386.80, which is right about now. We're going to see that 386.80 doesn't really move a whole lot. And then I'm wanting to then see the bids decrement down, and then I want to see 385 taken out. And then that's where I want to take a partial on that break from that initial flush down and that support that was found at 385 earlier. And so the bids are being hit on 385, and at this point, I was filled and I took my partial there. And so that's exactly what I was wanting to see, was to have the bids get taken out at 385 so I can take that partial. And so with the fade, I know there could be some retracements that occur. So I'm waiting for those retracements to happen, and then I'm watching the tape closely to see, does it continue moving higher with strength, or does it fizzle out on some weakness and then basically indicate to me it's going to potentially keep moving down. And so here we're going to be seeing that 388.5-ish is going to hold multiple times and on the offer, and then from there that basically is giving me an idea of, okay, this is resistance. If this keeps holding, then it will not continue higher. It'll probably continue lower, most likely. And that way I can then move my stop down potentially as it moves lower to a more ideal price to mitigate my risk more and also lock in some profit if there's a stronger retracement on it.
Appreciate you coming on here. I'm going to let Killamat take it from here. Keep getting better and make us hire you on the desk one of these days. We need guys like you coming up and competing with Killamat and Graham and all these guys who apparently sit around and
Yeah, I got to learn from killer amount opening drive trades. Those are my type of trades that I prefer the most. So,
All right, guys.
see you, Mike. Appreciate it.
So we can just keep it rolling. I think you had a couple tapes, right?
Yeah, I got one more tape after this. Actually, two more. So, and this will go a little faster too. So basically, here, it already broke 385, where I took my initial partial. It's now I'm looking at 380 to get out all the way. And so at this point, I'm waiting for the bids to be taken out below 380, and I'm watching closely to see that the bids keep decrementing and drop out. And when they do, that's when I want to take my position off and take my profits for the day. Because this is close to VWAP. It didn't get all the way to VWAP, and I didn't want to wait all the way to VWAP because I have this 379 level identified as potential support. And so I wanted to get out of the trade close to that support level and take what I got.
Yeah, I think that's a good practice. Sometimes waiting till the exact level itself to take profits can kind of come back to bite you.
Yeah.
So definitely kind of taking incremental profits into that support level will definitely pay you better in the long run, just in case you don't
Yeah.
reach that initial target that you had in mind, but you still got somewhat close and you still, covered a lot of the trade still.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so here we see the bids being taken out towards 380, and then we should see a quick flush on 380 down to 379. And at that point, I'm already out and I'm done. And then I basically moved on. So the bids dropped out, and then the offers dropped below 380. So at this point, I filled and I'm already done, and the trade's over. Yeah, so I entered at 393.5 on the pop up after 10 a.m. Or 1 p.m. Eastern, and I had a stop loss at 396.5, and it held an offer at 395.8, and then it drifted lower. Once it broke down below 390, I moved my stop to 393.5. And then once it broke below this 385 level, I took my first partial. And then I moved my stop to 390. And as it kept moving lower and eventually broke down below this 381 level, I moved my stop again to 388. And on the second retracement, it wicked up towards that level, but it didn't knock me out. But I was prepared to take that if that was what happened. And then it eventually broke down to where I was aiming for, which is around 379, and I exited out at 380 to complete the trade. And so, quick trade review on what did I learn from this trade? I learned three really important things. One, a stock with a relative low float on positive earnings has potential to move up a lot. And if it does, there may be fade opportunities to take that from that large move up back to VWAP. The second thing I learned was that position sizing and risk is crucial to place this trade successfully with a wide spread. I don't have that great experience trading a wide spread, so I just did what I normally would do in those situations where there's more uncertainty. I size down and give myself more room to work, and that worked out really well. But that's something I have to continually keep in mind anytime I try to trade a stock like this with a wide spread, or any stock with a wide spread for that matter, or with really quick moves that may occur. And then the third thing was I learned that the first day price movement might provide clues to when to consider a fade trade on the second day in this type of scenario. And then what I could have done better was recognize this was an A+ setup once it started working and put on more size with quite a bit of intensity, and add more to the trade I was working to capitalize on the risk reward potential, which this trade turned out to be about 4-1. And then for how I do this differently next time, the first thing I would like to do is to develop a scanner to look for these opportunities. So then that way I don't necessarily have to rely on tweets from Steve or anyone else to necessarily find them. And then the second thing is to put on more size as the trade is working, and then to manage it accordingly.
I think what's really good here is recognizing that you could have put on more size because this was like a day two play as well. So you'd accumulated all this information, not only from the day of you trading it, but the day before. So that
Yeah.
just kind of gives you more variables and tells you that like that info you gained and that process you're using is working. So now when you are building up to a trade like this again, you can really have that confidence to size up a bit. And then
Yeah.
in terms of filters, that's always great. All the guys at the firm are always trying their best to work to develop new filters to show them opportunities in all sorts of different types of trades. Because of course you can build filters for anything. So I
Yeah.
think this is great trade review in terms of what to do better. Because this is always really important for what to do going forward. All right, great. Thanks for coming on again, Eric. That was a really good playbook.
Yeah.
I know
Thank you.
Mike definitely appreciated it as well, and this will be a great video for everyone to learn from, and kind of cool to see people not in the firm starting to use this process and making trades on their own with it. And like Mike said, maybe one day you'll end up here. Who knows? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's the goal. I'm hoping, and that's what I'm working towards. And I appreciate everything SMB does and all the education you guys put out. It's really helpful and it's really high quality compared to the other stuff out there. So I always appreciate what you guys provide the community.
Hey, go ahead and click our subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos they were producing for you in the trading community. And please take the time to add your feedback in the comment section for what videos you'd like for us to produce next and what you found helpful from this video. From all of us at SMB, train and trade well.